to another episode of Dazed and Infused. I'm Latham Woodward, your host, as always. Today, we've got two great guys from Sac, two guys with beards from Sac, and they are growers. That's Jordan Aguilar and Taylor Figs. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us. How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for joining me. And it's a new day here with Perfect Union as our new sponsor for Dazed and Infused, which I'm super stoked about. And they've been very good to me, and they have great brands and good people working with and for them. So let's start the show off how I start every show off, and that's asking you each, what's your historical relationship to cannabis? Jordan, why don't you tell us where you came from and why you're in the biz?
Well, it's a long story. No, I grew up in Orville, California.
Yep.
So about an hour and a half north here of Sacramento. A lot of people grew, but my family, my dad's a preacher, so I was kind of away from a lot of it. Then what do I know? I'm like, hey, everybody around me grows, but so started growing because everyone grew the best weed, and I was very competitive. So I'm like, if you grow the best weed, and I feel like I can compete with you on other stuff, then I should be able to compete, right? So I got into it, and I'd been working in a ER for some years, and I just wanted to get away from that life. Farming was fun. You have a beginning and an end to something. So we get to plant it, raise it, harvest it, and try again. And it just was intriguing, and fell in love with growing the plant.
Right on. In Oroville, you started in Oroville because my cousins have always lived up there, the land of kiwis and great citrus fruit. So it's a great place to grow.
Yeah, there's a lot of agriculture there.
Yeah, sweet. Taylor, what's your story, man? How'd you come to the game?
Oh, shoot. I'm from Red Bluff, California, not too far, much north of Oroville, actually. And then I got into the game. Like, my family was always into growing cannabis and things like that. So it wasn't really foreign to me growing up. It was always kind of more accepted, if anything. Right after high school, was lucky enough to get in with a company, Alien Labs, and started doing that from a young age. I was 20 when I first started with them, and was doing outdoor with my friends, and just any way I could get my hands on cannabis at that time I was doing it. But that's pretty much how I got my start, and cannabis was just always around growing up for me, so it's kind of always been there.
Right on. So it's part of your life, really.
Yep.
Sounds like it's both a part of both of your lives. The facility growing is called Blueprint. Is that correct?
The facility we grow in, we'll get technical, I guess, and the license is Fireworx.
Right.
So we grow Blueprint there, in the odd rooms, 1 and 3. And then we grow 530 or 5G in the even rooms.
Okay. So you also have you've grown, or you're growing currently, for Good Pizza, Proper, Perfect Union, and a couple of other brands, correct?
Yeah, we have a few brands exactly that we are growing for in the industry. Honored and blessed to get to work with good people, and have them. They give us a chance to produce and help their brand out.
So right now, with the focus in what has been the focus in the last couple of years on potency, right? It's a big kind of issue for myself, because I've been growing since I was 14, and so it's a long time. And I just remember good blends and good strains that were like in the 15 to 17 range, always consistent, always super stony, great entourage effect. Which are both of your feelings on this ever non-ending kind of quest toward higher potency, and how legitimate is it? Because I feel it's not legitimate in a lot of cases, certainly buffed up by testing.
I agree. I think THC, content or potency, it means nothing. It's just like you're saying, there's plenty of strains out there. Because I remember when I first started really getting into cannabis, or being allowed to be around it full time, most strains are 14, 15, 16%, and they were super stony. Now I can grab a strain that's 32% off the shelf, and I don't even feel like I get high from it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference there? It makes me think that THC doesn't mean, diddly squat when it comes to that, per se.
Exactly. And Jordan, what's your feeling?
Yeah, there's just too many variables, with the testing and the number that everyone's chasing. Testing can have varied results based on bud selection, where on the plant it came from, the bud that was grabbed to be sampled. So it doesn't mean what you got is that percentage. And then that same strain under various labs and same nug, if you would say, or same location on the plant to control as many variables as possible while leaving it just to the lab, you're going to see varied results across labs. And then you take that across states, and each state it's going to test differently. And so you're chasing a ghost number, something that doesn't really have relativity to the high. And then
Yeah.
it does, even if you knew what the THC was, its impact on the high, I think, is still minimal, because the entourage effect and all these other variables, and it's like anything else in life, switching varieties is going to get you different highs.
Yeah. You can't stick with the same strain.
Yeah, just smoking all the flavors. And that's what I really try to encourage. People get, at Blueprint, we cater to a high-end smoker. And often these guys, or the story is, these are the hype strains or top strains. Well, let's open it up and smoke some other flavors and experience that, and don't just get caught up on what the hype is. So yeah, could ramble on that forever, but it has no value. Somebody told me though that there was some maybe some truth to it, was to look at the delta between THC, total cannabinoids, and THCA, and look for a greater delta. So if testing is all the same, it's saying, hey, if there's a great distance between THCA and total cannabinoids, there's other compounds in here, and those other compounds could offer a better high.
Fill up the void, right?
Yeah, if it's THCA rich or THC rich, then it's like, okay, there's not much else in here besides that.
Yeah. This past weekend over Thanksgiving, I was up in Portland, Oregon, and I went to school up at University of Oregon, and I was just walking down the street, and everyone's smoking weed on the street there.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because when you smell like a cultivar from a region, it just triggered me in my head. Like, that's Oregon weed. I didn't need to be next to the guy. I could just smell it.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And like, if Southern California outdoor, I can always tell, or NorCal, or even Valley. It's pretty interesting. And I don't think a lot of the listening audience maybe doesn't know that about how region and terroir really affect cannabis.
Yeah, environments a lot.
People always, I sound crazy always, like longitude and latitude with a plant. Like, we take a genetic into a facility, and the first run, maybe it herms. It's like, and then it doesn't do it anymore. And it's like, okay, this plant was trying to, it was confused, stressed, and just by moving it, it went from an indoor controlled environment with, say, the same inputs, same environment, same everything, and goes to another location with the same everything besides where it physically is on Earth, even though it's indoors, and the plant behaves differently. So throw that outdoors across states. It's like, it's crazy that, and that's why I call it phenotype. It's like a pheno is the expression of a genotype, based on a given environment.
Yeah. And I mean, you hear stories all the time about people who are buying seed, right? They're buying the same seed, but they're spreading it across grows in different states, and the results are completely different. It's actually shocking sometimes how different it is. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of like a delta again between a potency of like 18 to 22 to 18 to 25, very variables that are very strange, and also a different effect. And it's exactly the same seed stock. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
So guys, where do you think the industry is going after, like, this crash and the burn of a lot of brands, and rightfully so, a lot of them. But and this the never ending kind of crunch for potency, and I mean, where are we going in the next year?
Shoot.
Hit the crystal ball.
Yeah, shake that ball. Where are we going right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty in this next year, and like for a lot of people, they're not really sure where they're gonna be a year from now. They hope that they'll still be doing the cannabis scene. But with the price of the market fluctuating all the time, and the buyers getting smarter to what good cannabis actually is, it's going to be hard for a lot of these people to stay in business throughout all this. I don't know. I'm uncertain. of what
You just brought up a really good point, the buyer in the equation. Okay.
Yep.
And in the past, and maybe still now, the buyer has been your friend and your enemy, right?
Mhm.
That they don't treat the cannabis dispensary as like a grocery store, right? And like when you have a grocery store, let's Safeway or Albertsons or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna put everything on the shelf, right? You're gonna go, let's see if these freaking olive stuff with jalapenos work, right? Let's see if this works, and pretty fast if it doesn't, right? But you allow them in. With the issue we've seen in brands that I've owned, it's like, no, nobody wants that. Well, how do you know? How do you know that
Yeah.
wall, that
Yeah.
psychological wall that buyers put up is really difficult, and I don't think it serves the public very well. What's your kind of interaction with the buyer side of it?
Oh, shoot. I mean, I don't have a lot of interaction with the buyer side besides just, being a buyer myself at times, going into the dispensary, hearing what people have to say, being behind the counter, maybe if I'm at the dispensary and listening to buyers come in, and even listening to bud tenders sell stuff. No one's concerned about, is the weed good? It's like, hey, what's the highest THC? What's the cheapest thing on the shelf? What do you recommend? Oh, here, I'll give you this. There's no thought into the process, like you're saying. Like it's not at a grocery store where people would be like, well, what is that? I'm putting that in my body.
Yeah.
They're more concerned with what's going in their body than at their dispensary. They're like, nope, highest THC percentage, please.
And who's the farmer? Like, who's the farmer? Who did this?
Who cultivated it? All the above. When it was a package, like all,
Right. I mean, like you guys, between you guys, you have like 22 years of experience or more. But like Jordan, you got into it in 2010, and Taylor, you got into it in 2014, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, you've seen it all kind of from the medicinal side, traditional side, all the way through fully legal, out of the cold, doing it right. And there's especially up in Humboldt, in the whole Mendocino Triangle, there seems to be like there's not as much wildcatting attitude that there used to be. But in 2020, 2021, you just saw a lot of that. I'm gonna do what the fuck I want kind of thing.
Yeah. That attitude.
Yeah. So, what strains are you guys growing this year?
Too many to list. Yeah, I mean, in a given room, we'll have, 14 strains over 7 rows, with 7 irrigation zones.
Wow.
So each row has an irrigation zone. There'll be 2 strains on a row, just to be able to hit every brand we're working with,
Mhm.
to be able to make that work and kick out correctly in the supply chain. I think, people are becoming wiser about it, but what you're growing, how often you're growing it, what's the cadence like, and how's that not impact the brands where they have a bunch of one strain or a bunch of inventory they have to get rid of. Like, try to keep it fresh and moving always.
Mhm.
So yeah, ton of strains, and it's kind of fun actually. Between Blazy, 5G, Blueprint, Proper, Good Pizza, yada yada, and a couple others. Everyone has different strains. Yeah, and strains that are some old school strains, real easy to grow in a lot of ways.
Like what old school? That's got my interest.
Red Dragon.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've had any of the Red Dragon from 5G.
No.
We'll have to get you some.
Love to.
I enjoy it a lot. Everyone's always like, "Why are you smoking that?"
I like it.
It's got a real good berry taste to it. Good daytime high. Grows just like these arms. It's real squat plant, but
A grower's friend.
it's like it can handle any stress at all. You're gonna do fine. And then you have new like cookie varieties or such, and it's like you look at it, you side eye it, and it's like I'm stopping. I'm not gonna grow anymore.
Yeah.
So
Sativa dominant, the Red Dragon.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
per classification of a plant, sativa, very thin leaf,
Mhm.
very like elongated and open.
Yeah. Like
yeah,
you remember Chernobyl?
yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Like a little like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
A little more spear-like than that, but yeah, it kind of grows slow too, but its stretch factor, it's like, well, it's kind of this little squatty plant. You flip it in a flower and it just shoots off like crazy. So whatever, we get a
Cool.
lot of fun strains from OGs to new varieties. And we pop a lot of seeds, look through a lot of phenos.
A lot of rosin strains.
We select for rosin or for flower. So we're always moving, and we're blessed to get to do what we do.
Now, are you guys doing any wax or extracts or anything like that?
Not on site.
Yeah.
But we send out for that. Correct. Yeah. So
cool. Right on. What are you personally smoking? What's your go-to right now?
Personally, my go-to right now would be either honestly some Biscotti Sherb from 5G.
Mhm.
That's smoking really good. And then from Blueprint, always P90. P90 is my favorite.
Cool. Love it. Well, before we get on to our last question for you guys, I want to thank Perfect Union for being a sponsor here and their amazing amount of products and their stores across California. Look for them on Perfect Union on online, and Wild Seed Wellness. You can find them all across California or Northern California right now. So we're at that part in the show, guys, when we ask our classic second question. Tell us a Stony story. Everybody's got one. It doesn't have to be about you. It could be about your friend or your ex-friend or your mom or your dad or whoever. Jordan, why don't you start us out?
Man, I thought I for sure had a second here. I don't know that I have a Stony story.
Everybody's got one, man. Oh, Taylor, you start while he gels.
Oh, so I think the one that my mind keeps going to is my godparents had a Chihuahua, and it was used to getting served human food.
Mhm.
They had a plate of pot brownies on the table. It hopped up there and it ate half the plate. And that dog, from their story, is that dog was high for about 3 or 4 days. Walking around just stoned out of its mind, laying on its back, legs straight up in the air. They take it to the vet. That's like, dog fine, may not be fine, but it's high.
We'll see what happens.
I don't have very many funny Stony stories about me, at least that I can't remember.
90% of the stories are about brownies in one way or another, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You guys know, do you ever know the guys over at Infusion Factory? In Sac? Well, the owner, who shall remain nameless, he was one of our guests once, and his story was also about brownies and how he ate it with some buddies, and he found himself in his underwear in a motel room 4 states away. 3 days later, he had no idea how he got there.
Oh no. One time, one of my first times flying, I was going to the East Coast with a buddy and his dad, and I had some like weed sugar cookies, and I'm in the airport, and I'm not to TSA yet, and I think I had flown once before, but so it was foreign, and I was like, they're gonna know I have these, so I ate them all, which was 3 of them, but I don't even know what I was thinking. I eat them all, and I have travel sickness anyway, like nausea being on a plane. I was on the plane. I felt like I was compressed down to the smallest like feasible spot ever, just smushed on the plane, threw up the whole time, was high for like a day and a half, just laying in the hotel room
in
New York. Everyone's like, let's do something. I'm dead. So I stayed away from edibles forever from that.
Well, there you go. That's a good Stony story. At least you're not that woman like the Karen who was up and said, that motherfucker back there ain't real.
I don't know. I don't even care what it is.
What happened to her? That's the real question.
Yeah, exactly.
Where is she? Where?
So anything exciting coming out of your place in the next 3 or 4 months that people should know about, or where should people go and what should they be buying right now?
There's a new brand coming out for us, the Blazy brand. It's new gummies that we have coming out, and there's 3 flavors: blue raz, elderberry, and boysenberry.
Look behind me on the screen, boys.
Yeah,
Dazed and Infused.
No, right there.
Yeah,
the gummies right there on the little screen.
Right there,
I can't see it.
Yeah,
nice.
My glasses.
Yeah, the gummies coming out. 5G or 530 grower will have some new strains coming out. The weed is just getting better and better every single drop, so just keep an eye out for fresh flower.
Right on. So you can find it at Perfect Union and other stores, I'm sure, across the state, and Wild Seed Wellness. And today we've had Jordan Aguilar and Taylor Figs on, and it's been great to have you both. And if you want to get back on, if you're going to announce anything, let us know, and we'll get you right back on so you can let the buying public know. And keep doing what you're doing, man. You both seem very serious about your trade, which is great. And it's like you care, and that's a big one. It's not just about the dough. You really seem to care about what you're doing, which I appreciate very much.
Hey, we appreciate that. And that's
Appreciate
what
that.
we
Thank
feel
you.
strongly about that as well.
Well, cool.
Thanks for having
And we've been here at Dazed and Infused again, and another great guest. Join us again next week for another fantastic guest here, sponsored by Perfect Union. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Thanks.
guys.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.